Hello?
I got you, Coach. Go ahead and make an opening statement about Illinois, and we'll open for questions.
Okay. Yeah, we're excited to get back on the floor. It's difficult to have these type of long pauses in the middle of conference play. I think every once in a while a deep breath and the ability to work on yourself is good. But I also think that long days and a long season can really wear on your guys. So we're anxious to get back to the court and play. Illinois having a terrific season. They're a great team. We played them realistically about a month ago, the day after Christmas, and was a tightly contested game. And they were able to make some plays in transition in particular late in that game, coming down the stretch that gave them some breathing room. And, they were able to pull it out. But looking back on that game, there's some things we can take from it. There's some things we obviously have to do a lot better at. And watching them play here, they're continuing to, play at a high level. And especially their two big guns, with Io and Big Kofi inside. They're two of the premier players in the country, and they're getting the job done. But they have a slew of other guys continuing to contribute. Curbelo is one of the best freshmen in the conference. I think Grandison's addition to what they're doing right now is giving them more depth. And, they're always, a tough team to prepare for just because of the unique 1-2 punch, especially inside.
All right. First question, John Blau.
We talked about that first matchup. Obviously, Ayo went off in the second half. I mean, when you look back on that, are there things specifically you feel like you guys can do better the second time around? And obviously, with this long break, the last time you guys played Iowa, you were really able to bear down defensively, and you credited a lot that week of practice to that. So do you feel like you're in a similar position this time around, maybe from what you see in practice?
I think just from a practice standpoint, we're continuing to try to hone in on our fundamentals, defensively. We had a great opportunity against Iowa, played extremely hard, and, it wasn't the same against Rutgers, so I think consistency is a big thing. And our effort level just in general hasn't been as consistent, on that end of the floor. It's something that, as we head into February here and with a lot of games left, we're going to have to be better in that end. But, preparing to play against Illinois, you really, you have to be smart. I think Io's a guy that, can really, hit you up a lot of different ways, and there's no single way that you can really hone in on him. He's great in transition, shoots the ball extremely well in transition in the half court, with his size and athleticism and talent. He gets to the basket when he wants. And then, he's a good reader of the defense. He makes good plays. He knows how teams are playing him, and their spacing is one of which he knows exactly where his reads are to make his outlets and his passes. So he's tough to contain. I think the biggest thing is our offense. Our offense has to not do what it did against Rutgers in the second half, and that will bury us. A lot like it did in the Rutgers game. It'll bury us against Illinois. If you turn the ball over 9 times in the second half, you're going to give a team of this caliber an opportunity to get out and transition where they thrive. And in our first game, I think we may only had 9 turnovers when we played Illinois, and that helped the cause of keeping the game, right there for us to have an opportunity to win the game. But, I think offensively, as much as anything, taking care of the ball is something we spent some time talking about here in the last week.
Tyler.
Coach, there's been some kind of discussion about the conference tournaments being so close to the NCAA tournament. Do you kind of have any reservations about that, or any discussions with any other Big Ten coaches regarding that?
Well, I think the Big Ten tournament is something that's very special, especially for our league. In a normal year, it's one of the most competitive, toughest things to do is to play 20 conference games and then go right into the conference tournament and have a chance to advance. And if you do that in the conference tournament, especially in our league, playing in the venues like Chicago that we do, you set yourself up for a good postseason run. This year is a lot different, especially with the NCAA tournament roughly days away. The risk of teams, having some setbacks or what it may be with COVID protocols and whatnot to jeopardize your standing in in the NCAA tournament, obviously I think there's some concern. But I think from our league's perspective, it's a go. I think from all of our coaches' standpoint, as we've conversed about it, I do think it's an important element to our league, because our league is one of which that's going to beat each other up through the course of these 20 games. And with the different types of non-conference schedules and profiles that you have, a game here or there could really mean the difference for a team that's in the middle, bottom third, that's right there, playing for a tournament bid. So it's something I think we're all cognizant of. It's important maybe at the end of the year. I also think there's some teams that have gone through some things here in the last couple of weeks that look at it and say, this could really be something that could derail us as we have an opportunity to approach postseason. So I think as it gets closer, each day will give us more information on what the right thing is to do. I know we'll do the right thing as coaches and be on the same page whenever that happens. But as of right now, it's something that we're planning on doing and excited to get to.
Jeff.
Hey, Coach, after long layoffs, we've heard some coaches talk about concern about rust. Other coaches have talked about, hey, we got a little rest. We needed it. Where are you at with your team? Do you feel – which way are you leaning? We're worried about the rust, or, hey, we feel good, we're a little rested?
I think our biggest thing here in these last couple of weeks has been our health. We have a banged-up team. Armand has been playing, realistically since the Maryland game on a hobbled ankle. He's re-aggravated multiple times in the games that he's returned, and he's had a hard time practicing. So trying to get a guy like him back. Galloway, who's also been out with a back injury, has yet to really resume activity, and we're trying to, get him as fresh as we possibly can. And then you have your normal wear and tear as you head into February with guys that have played a lot of minutes. So I think resting and trying to get recovered is something that we've tried to do a good job of here in the last week or so. Especially after this one, because after this game starts on Tuesday, it's going to be an onslaught in the next 30-some days to get the remainder of our schedule in with 2 games that have yet to be added. So health has been something that we've concentrated on and tried to be mindful of. We've also tried to work. I think it's important to continue to work, even though it is shorter times, to try to stay sharp and keep competing and keep working on your stuff. And teams that are coming to practice at this time of year that have purpose and work tend to find a way to play better at the end of the year, and that's what we hope to do.
Zach.
Archie, I guess kind of returning to the conference tournament, I'm certainly not asking you to trash Chicago, but I think there's been some talk about potentially bringing it to Indy so that teams that make the NCAA tournament basically can just stay there from a safety perspective and not have to kind of worry about going away and then coming back, obviously, for the NCAA tournament. I mean, I know it's unorthodox. I know it's weird, but is that something that I guess, at least to some degree, makes sense in your mind just because of the sort of strange protocols everybody's going to have to follow this March?
Yeah, I think it does make sense if that were to happen. It protects the teams that are in the tournament with less travel. And I think the city of Chicago in general right now is very difficult to navigate with hotels, their social distancing protocols, their eating, just a lot of things that probably a lot of people aren't thinking about that requires you to go to a city for multiple days and be together that, just isn't doable in that type of a setting when you're playing in a conference tournament, as much as you're together, meeting, doing all that stuff. So I think it makes sense. It's, it's practical for the teams that are moving on. And, I think Indianapolis being where everything is going to be held makes some sense if that were to happen. I think that is, it's definitely something that has been discussed. It's been thrown around. And if it happens, it will be a good move.
Last question, Kevin.
Yeah, Coach, Kofi had an impact in the first meeting, blocking, altering shots. I'm just curious about your approach with him the second time around, and if there are ways you can kind of maybe get him outside the basket a little bit from out from under the basket.
It's difficult because he doesn't come outside of the basket regardless of who they play. I don't necessarily know if our roster dictates that he's going to move around a ton, but he doesn't move around a ton in any game. Even if you watched him play against Iowa and he's guarding Luke, he's guarding Garza. Garza's as good of a three-point shooting big as you'll see in the country in terms of how they play, and he's not moving past 15, 16 feet. And that's why their defense is good. It's unique. Everything is funneled to the rim. Everything is forced to practically make you shoot 2-point shots. And in our first game, he had a significant impact, especially on Trace, in and around the basket. Very similar to the Rutgers game, where 2-point shots are very, very hard to come by with him being in front. I think the unique thing is with those guys is they don't foul either. They do a great job of playing hard, but at the same time, they do a great job of keeping things in between the basket where there's not a lot of fouls called. In our first game that we played them, our free throw rate and just in general getting to the foul line and generating free throws is a big part of our offense, and it's something that was non-existent in our first game. And if you watched them play against Iowa the other night, there wasn't a personal foul called in the last 10 minutes of the game. So, it's difficult. They're a tough team to score on. They have great personnel and quickness on the perimeter. They force things into the paint. And when you have a guy that's that big in and around the basket, who's that athletic with timing as well, he challenges, alters, and bothers shots. I think the unique thing for us is maybe not to move him around as much, is to find the ability to play, stronger at the basket. We have to find a way to generate free throws. We have to find a way to generate on our drive second shot opportunities, earlier offense and transition, easier post catches, easier attacks to the paint when they're not set. So it's something that, they do a great job of it. We're going to have to be much better in game 2 in terms of our efficiency. And we're going to have to find a way to get some easier baskets and transition off the glass and at the free throw line.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Guys, Rob Finnisley will be up next shortly.
Then I'll put you on.